Welcome back to another episode of Don't Take Us Seriously. I'm DJ.
I'm Kevin.
And today we're going to talk about these divisional games. 8 teams went in, 4 teams came out. This first one we're going to talk about is the Chiefs versus the Jags.
Yeah, DJ's team went in and blew it. Oddly enough, this was the only game that came down to the final 3 minutes. The rest of the divisional games were pretty much decided early on, and no suspense as to who was going to win those. But the Chiefs are not known to be a run team, and the Jags cannot stop the run, and it looked like the Jags could go to toe-to-toe, but the bottom fell out. Weird turnovers, drops, defense unable to stop a backup quarterback and a one-legged Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he was looking like Captain Barbosa from the Pirates of the Caribbean. Barbosa only had one leg and a stump for the other, and Mahomes didn't even have the luxury of the stump.
I just gotta say, before we get into this too far, this game I watched with high importance. I watched it with high regard. I know people may think I'm a Jags fan. I'm not, but I like Trevor Lawrence. This is one of those games that the Jags had to have. There's no way you can let them off the hook this easy. Patrick Mahomes, he's in there. He's holding the ball too long. He's getting hit a couple times early on, and I'm like, this isn't gonna end well. But I don't wish injury on a guy, but I'm just like, play to your potential. Let's have a great game. What happens? He holds it too long. Bow. He's out. He gets hurt. Shoot. But you know what? A perfect opportunity for the Jags to do something while Mahomes is out. If maybe he's out for the game. Who knows at that point? What happens though? Chad Henne comes in and he takes over, and it's looking good out there. And somehow the Jags defense can't capitalize on this. But I'll get to that later. Andy Reid, how do you put Mahomes back out there? I don't care what Mahomes says when the injury happens. I know he probably got quickly diagnosed, high ankle sprain, but he says he can go back in and he can cut it out. But Andy Reid, you don't put a generational talent back out there on that field and risk, a season-ending, career-ending type injury to a guy that's noticeably hopping on one leg as he throws. He can barely get the handoffs off on stretch plays. This is just ridiculous. It's debauchery that the Jags that they fumbled this game, but I don't know. I'm just frustrated. But you know what? Mahomes, you can't keep playing like this. You got to get the ball out faster. You got to do a 3-step drop, get it out. Internal clock, 3 seconds. Get it out of your hands. You can't have these plays, have all these things happen, and all it's going to take is one big hit. It happened to you last game, and you got lucky that it was just a high ankle sprain. Thank God it's only that injury. It's nothing worse. And for Chiefs fans out there, thank God that the Jags pass rush suck, because how do you not hit Mahomes after he's, like you said, he doesn't even have a stump. He's just out there peg-legged, and somehow they can't take this man down. So kudos to you, Chad Henne. You've been in the league for a long time. Looks like you did it once more. So
yeah, Patrick Mahomes being one-legged for most of the game just adds to the legend, and that he beats the Jags team that actually is ascending, unlike the Bills, and did it with one leg. Credit to Andy Reid. Yeah, should he have put Mahomes back in? Maybe not, but I think he's got a few more things hidden up that mustache for the next game, and he had him go in. He, played a short passing game, did what he could do to carry the game, but sure, Chad Henne maybe could have done the same thing. But I did notice after the Chad Henne drive that Trevor's face was downcast, and he's probably thinking, if we can't stop Henne, how the heck are we going to beat Mahomes? I can just imagine that's what I would be thinking if I were Trevor. Trevor was getting hot right before that drive too. The Jags had moved the ball. Etienne scored that touchdown. After the Henne drive came Agnew's big drop. All Agnew had to do was cradle the ball, and he dropped it like it was hot. He could be the hero and the villain of the story. This dude had all kinds of awesome punt returns, putting up an offense in good field position. During the second quarter, Jaguars were moving the ball, 3rd and 19 to play, and Lawrence escaped the pocket. He hit Agnew right in his chest. All he had to do was hold on to it, and he dropped the ball. Jags punt. They needed to score there, and Mahomes go up check up on his ankle, and it leads to Chad Henne. Another heroic drive for 10 points. And let's not forget Christian Kirk, wide receiver for the Jags, dropped a 58-yard bomb. Where was he this game? And to top all this, the crucial fourth, the Jags moved the ball quickly and were in the red zone. Lawrence hit Agnew once again in his chest, and Agnew turns, just straight up fumbles the ball. Right there. Of course, the next drive, Lawrence throws an interception and the end of the Jaguars. So I'm not saying the interception was Lawrence's fault, but damn, the amount of miscues from his teammates was so disheartening, even for us, and we were not even on the field. We weren't even there.
Right. And I don't like to rehash, but Chad Henne got the ball on the 2 and drove the ball down the field 98 yards. Jags defense. Come on, guys. I know you're young and immature, but you can't do that. That demoralizes your team, your defense. You can't stop Chad Henne. You're definitely not going to stop Mahomes. But like you said, I digress. This game comes down to 3 plays. It really did. And like you just said, with the Agnew drop, with the Christian Kirk bomb drop, it's just you hate to see a game lost that you should have had. You don't get opportunities like this too often where you get to take down the best quarterback in the league right now, or second best, whoever you ask. You don't get too many chances to be like, oh, no, the football gods answered our prayers. Well, guess what? You weren't listening. It's just so bad that the playoffs, they really expose you. They say pressure bursts pipes, or they say it builds character, builds integrity. This pressure didn't create a diamond. This pressure had the pipe burst and water flowing everywhere. They weren't ready. They just didn't look ready for the moment. Like you said too, Trevor Lawrence played a pretty good game, but you gotta take the bull by the horns. And that defensive coordinator for the Jags has got to do more. You gotta blitz. You gotta force him to throw up down the field. They didn't do these things. Hopefully, when the Jags get Calvin Ridley next year, maybe that'll light a fire under them, and maybe they'll be a better team, because this is just unfortunate the way that we saw them give the game away that was supposed to be theirs. But they overcame Urban Meyer. So I still can hang my hat on that. They found a way to still make lemonade out of piss. So I'll give them credit there. Kudos to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They changed the offense up just so they can make it easier for Mahomes. They learned from their mistakes they were making in the first half, and they course corrected themselves, and hey, they got them the win. My hat goes off to you, Mahomes, and the Chiefs. Now the Giants and the Eagles. This game was not good. In short form, this game was a blowout from the beginning. Within the first 6 to 8 minutes, they were down 14-0. It was so bad watching the Giants out there that you just had this feeling that, man, they're not going to figure it out, because they stopped Daniel Jones from running. There wasn't enough talent out there. They looked overmatched. But just like the regular season games, they didn't really have a shot in those. They didn't have a shot in this one either. By the end of the first quarter, you pretty much knew the result of this game. So if you watched it, I'm sorry for your...
Yeah, it was a slaughter for sure. The Giants need an upgrade at every position, except for running back, but we don't even know if was he coming back? Their line on both sides needs an overhaul. I probably would have rather seen Vikings and Eagles in this game. We had to roll with what we had. And is Daniel Jones still the guy after this disaster? Let's leave that for later. His limitations were exposed. Once the Eagles stopped him from running, it didn't seem like there was much he could do. So I still have a soft spot for Danny Dimes. Is he the franchise quarterback? Maybe, maybe not. But how can we actually know how good he is? Until we get some kind of line and protection around him, we're not going to find out. Even football enthusiasts cannot name receivers in this room. Other than Darius Slate, what other receivers are on the team. The Giants did overachieve, though, considering their year was supposed to be a rebuilding year. Daniel Jones and Barkley were questions in the coach's first year overall. They should consider this season a success.
And I will just put into for closing thoughts too, because I should have said this earlier. There's no reason that the Eagles shouldn't have won this game 50-0. This should have been like Alabama versus Notre Dame. The only reason it didn't is just because they let their foot off the gas. They knew they were in control. They weren't trying to put their health and bodies on the line. Say that this was a full force beat down and called the dogs off on these boys. So bye-bye, Giants. Hello, Eagles.
Let us move on to the shocking game of the week, the Bills versus the Bengals. This was a blowout from the beginning to the end. The Bills, the Super Bowl favorites from the beginning of the season, playing at home in the snow, get blown out by the Bengals.
The NFL was presumptuous. Me, the fan, all of us were presumptuous. We all assumed that this game was going to come down to Bills versus Chiefs in the AFC Championship. But the Bengals had something to say. We didn't even think about the fact that the Bengals, they were the runner-up to the Super Bowl last year. We just kind of swept it under the rug, thinking that they were just going to find a way to win. Josh Allen, he was, like you said, the MVP favorite early on in the season. They were the overall favorite to win the Super Bowl, through and through, even through the adversity. Joe Burrow, he had something to say. And what he said was, better send those refunds, because everyone assumed they played a bad game. Josh Allen came out flat. If you blinked, They were down 14-0. And then before you know it, Josh Allen, he was able to rally a little bit, got it to 14-7. But nobody really thought this game was close. If you watch this game was a beatdown. This was a blowout. It did not look as close as this score even showed early on. They were just outplayed, and they played catch up pretty much the rest of the game. And I'm not surprised they lost 27-10.
Here's what I don't understand. The Bengals are down 3 offensive linemen, and the Bills' pass rush that was made for Patrick Mahomes should have been feasting on Joe Burrow and making him into a human pinata. Nope, Burrow is just picking them apart from the pocket. You would think they would have played, being inspired from Damar Hamlin on the sideline to cheer them on. Instead, they looked tired. They looked worn out. Really didn't want to be there. Their all-pro linebacker even admitted, that they had no energy, juice, or even momentum. And that goes for both offense and the defense.
Yeah. It's just ever since Josh Allen's elbow injury, it just seems like they haven't been playing well. It just seems like it's been up and down. It hasn't been any consistent soar. They just don't seem that interested. They haven't seemed like they could hit their stride. It's weird to say this though about Josh Allen because the high praise that I was giving him so much early in the year, but they tried to lose to the Dolphins. If you saw that game last week, I mean that was Skylar Thompson out there, and they were close to losing. So you look at how chaotic and disheveled this December's been. I kind of hinted towards it earlier. They've had games rescheduled due to snow multiple times. The Damar Hamlin cardiac arrest, like you mentioned. It's so much going on. Injuries happen, but you can't expect these types of incidents that occur in a season. And there's no excuse because then you look at other things, happen, like Von Miller getting hurt with the Achilles injury. It's just these things happen in a game. It happened in a season, and you think that teams will bounce back that are supposed to, that are the echelon, that are the top of the top. But that affected the pass rush greatly. Ever since the injury with Josh Allen, his mechanics have been kind of off. And then you look at Von Miller, that injury affected their pass rush greatly. And it just seems like the pain kind of just overtook them. That there was nothing that they could do to get their confidence back in January. This Bills defense did not show up at all. The time of possession was 35 minutes to 25 minutes. It was just ridiculously slanted. There's no momentum. That's it. There's no momentum. There's no juice, like you mentioned. There's nothing. There's 176 rushing yards for the Bengals. There were 63 yards rushing for the Bills. Josh Allen had 25 of those yards. I don't know what to tell you. This game was bad. This team played terrible. They played uninspired. Time for you to go fishing, Josh Allen. The Bills virtually had no run game. They don't trust James Cook. Devin Singletary's worthless in the playoffs. We've seen that story too many times. Nyheim Hines didn't even help them at all either. I mean, he had one punt. Josh Allen's the run game. This isn't going to work. This isn't a long-term success strategy. They're going to cut his career short doing these antics, trying to run him all day. He needs to start sliding more because if he doesn't slide more, then that means his career will be lessened and those legs they'll get cut down.
Yeah, it looked to me like the offensive line couldn't protect Josh Allen from the Bengals pass rush. He was constantly rushed in his throws, or he held onto the ball too long for big plays, but resulting in just throwing it into the air. Allen kept pressing for the big play and did not look at his outlet receivers. There are times he should have hit him on the short throws in the middle instead of trying to make that big play, gaining ground and chunk. This kind of mindset is not going to help him stay consistent. As much as it bugs me, remember the Jaguars versus the Chargers game? The Jags were down 27-0 at one point, and they continued to run the ball and played the short passing game until the opportunity for a deep shot presented itself. If Allen had that mindset, the Bills could have made it at least somewhat close. The Bengals were getting pass rush with 3 guys, but let us give the Bengals credit. Joe Burrow was unflappable and played an awesome game. Their pass rush was fierce. They really have been playing well since late November. The team is coming together. At this point, I'm not surprised they're favored against the Chiefs. This pass rush is legit. The question is whether this patchwork offensive line can continue to hold up.
The AFC stacked with QBs. Let's just call it what it is. If the Bills keep messing around, they're going to mess around and they're going to find out that there's a lot of talented quarterbacks in this conference, and you're going to mess up your window. You have to capitalize when the opportunities come. There are 6 franchise quarterbacks in the AFC. There's not that many. There's not half as many over in the NFC. NFC. They're over there searching. There's a well that they're trying to search. They got to build the offense for Josh Allen so he can thrive. And it can't just be Stephon Diggs to Josh Allen. They need a run game. They need Josh Allen to run less. They need more weapons. They need a better defense that's more consistent. If Dawson Knox doesn't turn it around and actually tighten up some more, this team is gonna mess around and not get one. Like, you have to go get a championship right now because Trevor Lawrence is coming. Yeah, Justin Herbert's still gonna be around. You don't know what's gonna happen with Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of guys in this conference that are trying to take your throne, and well, it looks like you don't want it that bad. Let us move on to the Cowboys versus the Niners. So we've already hashed out in the other episode about us talking about Brock Purdy and the Niners and everything. So we're gonna focus more on Dak. If you guys want to hear more about us talking about Brock Purdy, go watch that other episode. But we're gonna talk, like I said, about Dak. Dak has been whack.
Dak Prescott is maddeningly inconsistent. He has this unbelievable game against the Eagles, then smashes the Bucs, and then comes out and lays an egg. The 49ers defense is the best in the league. We have to be honest about that. But Geno Smith played better against them compared to Dak. One interception was a bad bounce, but the other one was totally his fault. Those two interceptions led to the 2 field goals, and that was the difference. He didn't go out and help his defense, who was basically bailing him out. I know we put him on the franchise QB list, but did so reluctantly. He is the $40 million QB, and the Cowboys are not moving away from him, nor are they getting the other 6 of the franchise QBs. At what point do you start looking around? Is this guy legitimately the difference maker that takes us to the Super Bowl? Right now, Dak is the same playoff record as Tony Romo, 2-4.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Tony Romo, but like you said, he's the worst of the best, and we mentioned that from the get-go. He is just maddeningly inconsistent. This makes you what you are. You're not gonna go get one of those other guys, so you better make do while the sun shines. This is just a guy that's going up against a really good Eagles defense. He was able to shred them. It's the Bucs game. He just went up against the Bucs defense. He was able to send Tom Brady home packing and really make something happen we've never seen happen to Tom Brady before. So when you look at the QB position, Dak right now, he feels like Romo. I know I said I don't want to talk about it, but I guess I have to actually mention it. I do agree. It does look that way. But whenever the Cowboys make the playoffs, you get this eerie feeling that they're just gonna get defeated. Something's gonna go wrong. They're gonna lose their shit, and then the shit's just gonna hit the fan. And guess what? The shit hit the fan. The only 2 quarterbacks outside of Dak that are attainable for these Cowboys are Brady and Aaron Rodgers. And I'm pretty sure that Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers aren't going to just go kumbaya all over again in Cowboy land. I'm sure Jerry would love it, but that's not going to happen. You got Tom Brady. You got an outside shot at getting Tom Brady. You really going to leverage your future to go get a 46-year-old quarterback? Really? You're going to throw away Dak Prescott, who's, no matter what we say or what anybody believes, he's a top 10 quarterback, no question. So you're going to throw away a top 10 quarterback in his prime for an old Tom Brady? I still have my doubts about Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore as OC, but I also have my doubts about, what the Cowboys are going to do, because you got to stick by it. Sucks to suck.
I have my doubts that if the Cowboys have Super Bowl aspirations, they need to find a better solution at quarterback. But if quality QBs were a little easier to find, a player like Dak would not be commanding $40 million a year. I don't think the Cowboys have a chance at the Super Bowl with Dak at QB. The 49ers are going to be strong for years to come, and that goes for the Eagles as well. Unless the Cowboys luck into replacing Dak with one of those 6 franchise guys, this is who they will be for the years to come.
More and more. Let's just hope, in conclusion, for some quality games. Because this last week, these divisional rounds were kind of a snore fest outside of that Jacksonville Jaguars and that Kansas City Chiefs game. We're hoping for some better games here for the NFC Conference Championship and for the AFC Conference Championship. So here's a here for no letdown and for some good football. Yeah. But this has been another episode of Don't Take Us Seriously. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
See ya.